My name is Claire Bennett, and I'm 33 years old. For 20 years, I thought my mother only read my childhood diary once. I thought she opened it, punished me for my private feelings, and then forgot about it. But on the night I finally confronted her in Austin, Texas, she pulled a faded yellow envelope from her purse and said, "If you knew what was inside this, you would thank me." That was the moment I realized my diary had not just been read. It had been used. And the one person I had spent my whole life trying to please was the same person who had been quietly controlling my story since I was 13. If you have ever felt like your own family treated your pain like a crime, stay with me. And if emotional stories like this touch your heart, make sure you subscribe, because sometimes the truth does not set you free gently. Sometimes it breaks the fake peace first. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood in Austin, Texas, in a small beige house with white shutters and a cracked driveway. From the outside, our home looked normal. My mother, Diane Bennett, kept the front yard clean. She planted roses every spring. She waved at neighbors. She brought casseroles to church dinners and smiled like she had never raised her voice in her life. People loved my mother. They called her strong. They called her protective. They called her a woman who had sacrificed everything for her daughter. And maybe some of that was true. But inside our house, love always came with a rule. Privacy meant disrespect. Silence meant attitude. Sadness meant drama. Boundaries meant betrayal. My mother used to say, "A child with secrets is a child doing something wrong." I was not doing anything wrong. I was just lonely. My father left when I was 7. I barely remembered his voice, but I remembered the silence after he was gone. My mother never explained much. She only said, "Your father chose himself, Claire. Remember that." So I did. I remembered it every time she looked tired, every time she paid bills late, every time she reminded me that she was the only person who stayed. By the time I was 13, I had learned to be careful. Careful with my face, careful with my tone, careful with my feelings. If I looked sad, she asked, "What are you upset about now?" If I stayed quiet, she said, "Don't sit there acting like a victim." If I asked for space, she said, "Space from your mother? That's what selfish girls say." So I found another place for my feelings. A diary. It was small and blue, with a weak silver lock. I bought it from a Walgreens near our house with birthday money my grandmother had mailed me. To anyone else, it was just paper. To me, it was the only room in the world where my mother could not interrupt me. I wrote in it at night, under my blanket, with a flashlight pressed against my chest. I wrote about school. I wrote about how girls in my class whispered when I wore the same shoes 3 years in a row. I wrote about how I missed my father, even though I was supposed to hate him. I wrote about how my mother made me feel guilty for needing anything. And one night, after she yelled at me for closing my bedroom door, I wrote 7 words that changed everything. I don't feel safe with Mom. The next afternoon, I came home from school and found my bedroom too clean. That was the first sign. My blankets were folded. My desk was cleared. My drawers were pushed all the way in. My diary was sitting in the middle of my bed, open. My whole body went cold. I walked toward it slowly, like it was something dead. The page was turned to the exact words I had written the night before. I don't feel safe with Mom. Before I could touch it, my mother spoke from the doorway. "So that's what you think of me?" I turned around. She was holding a laundry basket against her hip, but her eyes were not soft. They were sharp and hurt and angry. I whispered, You read it? She stepped into the room. I was cleaning. It was locked. She laughed once, but there was no humor in it. That little lock? Claire, don't be ridiculous. My face burned. I wanted to grab the diary and run, but there was nowhere to run in a house where every room belonged to her. She picked it up. Then she did the thing I never forgot. She read my words out loud. I don't feel safe with Mom. Her voice shook, but not because she felt sorry. Because she felt insulted. Do you know how that makes me look? She asked. I didn't answer. She stepped closer. After everything I do for you, this is what you write? I didn't mean no, she snapped. You meant it. You wrote it. I started crying. Not loud crying. Quiet crying. The kind children do when they already know comfort is not coming. My mother pointed at the diary. If you have something to say about me, you say it to my face. You don't hide in some little book and make me the villain. I just needed somewhere to write, I said. She shook her head. You needed to lie. That sentence stayed inside me for years. You needed to lie. After that day, I stopped writing the truth. I still kept the diary, but the pages became fake. School was fine. Mom made dinner. I am grateful. I should be better. I wrote like someone was watching, because someone had been. My mother never apologized. Instead, she told my Aunt Linda, Claire is going through a dramatic phase. She told our pastor's wife I was sensitive. She told my grandmother I had anger toward her for no reason. And slowly, everyone started treating me like I was the problem. If I sat quietly at family dinners, Aunt Linda would say, Still mad at your mother? If I didn't smile in photos, my cousin Rachel would whisper, Claire always acts miserable. If I tried to explain, my mother would sigh and say, See, this is what I deal with. So I learned the family rule. My mother could hurt me, but I was not allowed to name the hurt. That is how toxic families work sometimes. They don't always break you with one huge event. They train you, little by little, to doubt your own pain. Years passed. I became the good daughter. I made good grades. I helped around the house. I worked part-time at a grocery store. I never asked for much. But inside, I was leaving long before I packed a bag. When I got accepted to the University of Texas, my mother cried in the kitchen. At first, I thought she was proud. Then she said, So now you're leaving me too. I stood there holding the acceptance letter, feeling guilty for wanting a future. I'll still be close, I said. She wiped her tears. That's what people say before they forget who raised them. I almost didn't go. That is the part I am ashamed to admit. I almost gave up college because my mother made freedom feel like cruelty. But my English teacher, Mrs. Porter, pulled me aside after graduation. She handed me a card with $20 inside. Then she said, Claire, you are allowed to have a life that is not built around someone else's wounds. I didn't fully understand it then, but I kept the card. I moved into a small dorm room in Austin with 2 roommates and a window that faced a parking lot. It was not beautiful, but it had a door I could close without anyone accusing me of betrayal. For the first time, I breathed differently. Still, my mother called every day. If I didn't answer, she called again. Then again. Then she left messages. Claire, pick up. Why are you ignoring me? I guess you're too busy for your mother now. When I did answer, she asked questions like a detective. Who was I with? What did I eat? Where was I going? Why did I sound tired? Why didn't I tell her about the study group? Why did she have to hear things from other people? I told myself she loved me. That was easier than admitting she controlled me. After college, I got a job at a small publishing office in downtown Austin. I rented a one-bedroom apartment on the east side. I bought secondhand furniture and a yellow lamp from Facebook Marketplace. It was the first place that felt like mine. But my mother still acted like my life was a room she could enter without knocking. She had a spare key for emergencies. One Friday, I came home from work and found her in my apartment folding my laundry. My stomach dropped. "Mom, what are you doing here?" She smiled like nothing was wrong. "You weren't answering. I got worried." "I was at work." "Well, you could have texted." I looked at the laundry in her hands. "You can't just come in." Her smile disappeared. "I'm your mother." "That doesn't mean you can enter my apartment." She placed a shirt on the couch. "I was helping." "No," I said, my voice shaking. "You were crossing a line." Her eyes narrowed. "A line?" "Yes, a boundary." She laughed. The same bitter laugh from my childhood bedroom. "Boundaries. That word again. You young people learn one therapy word, and suddenly your mother is the enemy." I didn't know what to say, because part of me still felt 13. So I let it go. Again. That was my pattern. I got hurt. I got scared. I stayed quiet. I called it peace. But peace that costs you your voice is not peace. It is surrender. The real breaking point came 2 years later, when I got engaged. His name was Daniel Reed. He was kind, patient, and steady in a way I did not know people could be. He never pushed me to talk before I was ready. He knocked before entering rooms. If I said no, he did not punish me with silence. The first time he noticed me flinch when my mother called, he asked gently, "Do you want to answer?" I stared at him. No one had ever asked me that before. I whispered, "I don't know." He said, "That's okay." That tiny sentence made me cry. When Daniel proposed at Zilker Park, under a tree with yellow leaves falling around us, I said yes with my whole heart. For a few weeks, I felt happy. Then my mother found ways to make the wedding about her. She wanted to approve the venue. She wanted to choose my dress. She wanted to invite people I barely knew. She told me ivory looked too cold on me. She said Daniel's mother was trying to take over because she offered to help with flowers. One night, she came over with a binder full of wedding ideas I had not asked for. I made tea, sat across from her, and tried to be calm. "Mom, I appreciate it, but Daniel and I want a small wedding." She stiffened. "How small?" "Close friends and family. Maybe 40 people?" Her face changed. "So you're embarrassed of your family?" "No." "Then why are you hiding the wedding?" "I'm not hiding it." She closed the binder. "I gave up my whole life for you, and you can't even let me be part of this?" There it was again. The debt, the invisible bill she handed me every time I tried to choose myself. I said, "You can be part of it, but you can't control it." She stood up. "You know, Claire, you have always been ungrateful. Even as a child, you wrote horrible things about me." My chest tightened. The diary. 20 years later, and she still used it like evidence. I said, "I was a child. You were old enough to write it. I was hurt. You were dramatic." Something inside me cracked. Not loudly, quietly, like ice splitting under weight. I looked at her and said, "You read my private diary, and you still think I was the one who did something wrong?" She stared at me. Then she reached into her purse. Slowly, carefully, she pulled out a faded yellow envelope. My body went still. It was old. The edges were worn soft. My name was written across the front in blue ink. Claire Ann Bennett. My handwriting. From when I was 13. I knew it before she opened it. It was the envelope I had used to hide loose diary pages. Pages I thought were lost. Pages I thought she had thrown away. She placed the envelope on the table between us. "If you knew what was inside this," she said, "you would thank me." I could barely breathe. "Why do you have that?" She didn't answer. I reached for it, but she put her hand over it. "Not until you listen." My voice went low. "Give it to me." "Claire, give me my envelope." For the first time, my mother looked unsure. She lifted her hand. I took the envelope and opened it. Inside were folded pages. Old diary pages. But there was something else, too. A letter. Not from me. From my father. The date on top was 2 months after he left. I unfolded it with shaking hands. "Dear Claire, I don't know if your mother will give this to you, but I hope she does one day. I want you to know I did not leave because I stopped loving you. I made mistakes with your mother, but never with loving you. I have tried calling, but she says you don't want to speak to me. If that is true, I will respect it. But if it is not, I will keep waiting. Love, Dad." The room blurred. I read it again, then again. My mother sat across from me, silent. I looked up. "What is this?" She swallowed. "A letter?" "I can see that." My hands were trembling. "Why did you have this?" She looked away. "He sent it years ago." "And you kept it?" "I was protecting you." My laugh came out broken. "From what?" "From him. You told me he abandoned me." "He did." "No," I said, holding up the letter. "He tried to reach me." She stood up. "You don't know the whole story." "Then tell me." Her lips pressed together. "He hurt me, Claire. I'm not saying he didn't. He left me with bills. He left me with you." "With me?" I repeated. Her face softened for a second, like she knew she had said too much. I stood too. "You punished me for his leaving." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did. Every time I wanted space, you called it abandonment. Every time I had feelings, you called it betrayal. Every time I needed privacy, you treated me like I was hiding a crime." She shook her head. I was scared. "You were controlling." Her eyes filled with tears. "I was your mother, and I was your child." The words came out louder than I meant them to. "I was a child, Mom. A child. I wrote in a diary because I had nowhere else to put my pain." And instead of asking why I felt unsafe, you read it, shamed me, kept my father's letter, and made everyone believe I was cruel to you. She wiped her cheek. "You don't understand what it was like. I understand more than you think." I pointed at the letter. "You had a right to be hurt by Dad. You did not have a right to make me carry your hurt like it was mine." The apartment went silent. Outside, a car passed. Somewhere downstairs, a dog barked. The world kept moving, like my life had not just split open. My mother whispered, "He would have taken you from me." I stared at her. "So you took him from me first?" She closed her eyes. That was her answer. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said the words that broke whatever bond was left between us. "I don't regret it." My chest felt hollow. "You don't regret reading my diary?" "I regret that you found out like this." "You don't regret hiding the letter?" "I did what I had to do." "You don't regret making me believe my father didn't want me?" Her face hardened. "He didn't deserve you." I nodded slowly. And apparently, neither did my truth. She grabbed her purse. "Daniel is turning you against me." "No," I said. "My memory is." She looked at me like she hated what I had become. But I did not feel powerful. I felt tired. Tired of explaining that love should not feel like surveillance. Tired of being called ungrateful for wanting respect. Tired of being made responsible for my mother's pain. I walked to the door and opened it. She stared at me. "You're kicking me out?" "I'm asking you to leave." "After everything I've done." I held the door open. "Especially after everything you've done." Her face twisted with hurt. "You will regret treating your mother this way." Maybe once, that sentence would have destroyed me. That night, it only made me sad. "I already regret letting you treat me this way for so long." She left without saying goodbye. When the door closed, I sank to the floor. I held my father's letter in one hand and my old diary pages in the other. And I cried. Not just for the father I lost. Not just for the mother I finally saw clearly. I cried for 13-year-old Claire. The little girl who thought privacy was wrong. The little girl who apologized for being hurt. The little girl who believed her feelings were dangerous because her mother said they were. Daniel found me on the floor 20 minutes later. He didn't ask too many questions. He sat beside me and waited. When I handed in the letter, he read it quietly. Then he said, "Claire, I'm so sorry." That was all. No lecture, no fixing, no forcing forgiveness. Just sorrow beside mine. The next week, I searched for my father. His name was Michael Bennett. He had moved to San Antonio, remarried, and worked as a mechanic. I found an old business page with a phone number. For 3 days, I stared at it. Then, I called. A man answered. "Bennett Auto Repair." My throat closed. "Hi," I said. "Is this Michael Bennett?" "Yes." I gripped the phone. "This is Claire." Silence. Then I heard him inhale. Not sharply, carefully, like he was afraid the moment would disappear. "Claire?" "Yes." His voice broke. "My Claire?" I covered my mouth and cried. We did not fix 20 years in one phone call. Life is not that simple. But he told me he had written every birthday for 10 years. He told me he had called until my mother threatened legal action. He told me he had believed I hated him because that was what she said. "I didn't hate you," I whispered. He cried then. So did I. A month later, I met him at a small coffee shop in San Antonio. He looked older than the photos I remembered. Gray hair, tired eyes, grease under one fingernail he had missed washing. When he saw me, he stood. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he said, "You look like your grandmother." I laughed through tears. He did not rush to hug me. He asked, "Can I?" That question healed something in me. Because he asked, he did not take. I nodded, and when he hugged me, I felt grief and comfort at the same time. After that, my mother called non-stop. I did not answer. She sent messages. "So this is how you repay me? You believe him over me? I guess I was the bad mother all along. Don't come crying when he hurts you again." I read them with shaking hands. Then I did something I had never done before. I blocked her for 1 week. Just 1 week. It felt cruel at first. Then it felt quiet. In therapy, my counselor, Dr. Elena Ruiz, said something I wrote down and kept on my fridge. A boundary is not a punishment. It is a door with a lock. A lock, like my old diary should have had. She helped me understand the truth. My mother's pain was real, but so was mine. Her fear may have explained her choices. It did not excuse them. I started setting rules. No surprise visits. No guilt messages. No sharing my private life with relatives. No using the past to control my future. No wedding decisions without my permission. No contact with Daniel to complain about me. I sent the boundaries in a short message. "Mom, I need space and respect. If we are going to have a relationship, these are the rules. I am not discussing my father with you right now. I am not accepting guilt or insults. If you cross these lines, I will end the conversation." She replied 6 minutes later. "You sound cold." I stared at the message. Then I typed back, "No, I sound clear." For the first time, I did not explain more. The wedding changed after that. Daniel and I chose a small garden venue outside Austin. We invited people who felt safe. My father came. He sat in the second row, not trying to take a place he had not earned, but grateful to be there. My mother was invited too, with conditions. She came wearing navy blue and a face that looked calm from far away. Before the ceremony, she asked to speak with me alone. My bridesmaid, Maya, looked at me, silently asking if I wanted help. I said, "You can stay nearby." My mother noticed. Her mouth tightened. "So now I need supervision?" I breathed slowly. "You need to respect my comfort." She looked at my dress. "You look beautiful." "Thank you." For a moment, I saw the mother I had always wanted. Then she said, "I hope you understand one day why I did what I did." And just like that, the old door opened. But this time, I did not walk through it. "I understand why," I said. "I just don't accept it." Her eyes filled with tears. "I lost you." I shook my head. "No, Mom. You didn't lose me because I found the truth. You lost me every time you chose control over trust." She looked down. "I don't know how to be your mother now." That was the first honest thing she had said. I softened, but I did not collapse. "Start by not owning me." She nodded. I don't know if she understood, but she didn't argue. Daniel and I got married under warm afternoon light, with oak trees moving gently in the wind. When I walked down the aisle, I saw my father crying quietly. I saw my mother sitting stiffly, hands folded in her lap. And I felt something strange. Not perfect happiness, not full healing, but freedom. Because for the first time, I was not walking toward a life chosen by fear. I was walking toward a life chosen by me. After the wedding, my mother and I did not become close overnight. Some weeks were peaceful, some were not. She still slipped into old habits. She still said things like, "I guess I'm not allowed to ask anything anymore." Before, I would have rushed to comfort her. Now I said, "You can ask. You just can't demand." Sometimes she apologized. Sometimes she got defensive. Sometimes I had to end the call. And every time I did, the scared little girl inside me panicked. But I reminded her, we are safe now. 1 year later, I opened the old blue diary again. I sat at my kitchen table, in the home Daniel and I had bought in Cedar Park. The diary pages smelled faintly of dust and cardboard. I turned to the page my mother had read. "I don't feel safe with Mom." For years, that sentence made me feel guilty. Now, it made me feel proud. Because even at 13, some part of me knew the truth. Some part of me refused to lie on paper. I took out a pen and wrote beneath it, "You were right, and I am listening now." Then, I placed my father's letter inside the diary, not because it belonged to the pain, but because it belonged to the truth. My mother did not read my diary because she loved me too much. She read it because she believed love gave her ownership. But love is not ownership. Love does not need to search your drawers to feel secure. Love does not read your private pain and then punish you for it. Love does not hide letters, rewrite history, and call control protection. Real love knocks. Real love asks. Real love respects the locked doors inside another person, even if that person is your child. Especially then. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because someone out there may still believe they are wrong for needing boundaries, and they need to know they are not selfish. They are healing. My name is Claire Bennett. I am 33 years old, and for the first time in my life, I no longer feel guilty for locking the door. Because my privacy was never disrespect. My truth was never betrayal. And I was never a bad daughter for wanting to feel safe.